Yeah, I mean, I think we know that there are several community-based organizations that work with farmers, primarily small scale, throughout the state of California and within our region. And so we know that like USDA, CDFA, extensionists, and community-based organizations, whether they be from like agencies in the state or federal or like the larger community-based organizations, they all have some sort of like offerings to like get you supported in running your operation, both on a conservation practice, but also from like a business acumen capability as well. I think that we quickly realized that as a 0 to 1 year operation, a lot of these organizations, because of the federal sort of level of the agencies having a minimum of 3 years or above, between 3 and 10, I feel like a lot of them were following suit both on the state level and as well as at the community-based level around being able to provide you funding to get your farm to a spot that it stabilizes you. And it really felt like you had to really struggle the first 3 years in order to then feel like you can get the economic support from a lot of these agencies or nonprofits to kind of really support you in stabilizing you. And so that was a really quick realization that we noticed primarily from USDA, and then of course from like other nonprofits that weren't really it's not that they didn't want to, it's just that was like sort of the minimum for them to be able to help you. I mean, the most helpfuls have been specific nonprofits and like regionalized like conservation practices, right? So that could be from our regional or larger regional area of the conservation districts on a more conservation practices that you're looking to implement. There were certain aspects of usefulness and helpful in us navigating what that looks like and implementing them, right? Both from getting seeds to transplants for hedgerows, or to getting compost. And those were huge supports for us in being able to like implement those immediately first year and the ongoing years to like the third year. I think that, for example, like the organic transitioning through like the CCOF was also one that was really helpful. They were sort of a foundational money that came from philanthropists, and so receiving that transitioning organic money, which was a large amount of sum money, which is $30,000 over 3 years, which meant $10,000 for each year, allowed us to purchase implements, equipment, tools, irrigation, and even pay for some of the conservation practices we were hoping to continue to have ongoing to this year. And so those were helpful. There's also tons of information out there, both through all of these agencies and nonprofits, around templates of record keeping to food safety template plans, how to market yourself, what are some of the potential markets that one can get into. So there's several information out there, and it's whether it be economic or just knowledge. I think there's all sorts of information out there that one can absorb and take on. It's just a matter of one, both finding it and asking for those resources through the folks who work through these agencies and nonprofits, which is another whole task in itself. I think the way that we reached out to a lot of the folks was mainly through connecting with one or two of the organizations or agencies and really asking who would be able to support us in doing this work. So it was just simply connecting with someone that we already knew and then asking from there if they knew any other people that would be able to connect us to the work that we were hoping to do. And so it would just be an ongoing domino effect from there on out, making sure to connect with the right folks, either through email or phone call, or having them come out to the site to really explain our vision and our vision of like what this farm is hoping to accomplish over the year or ongoing future. And so those were sort of the ways in which we would reach out to folks. It was mainly doing through research on our own to like find the right people, or asking the same people who were already supporting us to see if they knew of anyone else that could be of help to us in supporting the work that we're doing here at the site. No, I don't think so. I think that there's always a silver lining in all of the information that's out there that's being provided. I think that you can take it or leave it, and we can all learn from the information that is out there, whether you end up using it or not. That's up to the individual. But I feel like any information is good information, and therefore that will allow us to sort of maybe keep that in the back of our minds for when we do need it, or when we do need it and that information is applicable, then we can actually integrate it to what we're hoping to do and accomplish the work that we're trying to do here at our farm site. Definitely, we've began to see a lot of opportunities opening up for us to apply through a lot of the federal and state and some of the nonprofit agencies that are around here to like seek some of that information, qualify for those grants, and be able to understand some of the requirements for us to accomplish some of those grants when and if so, if we receive that funding. But it does allow us to open up the opportunity for us to seek lots of different funding avenues that we didn't once have. And I think that is exciting, but also frustrating and can be daunting in many ways, because even when you do get some of this funding, there's still a lot of unclarity around the expectations and, like tax purposes that need to happen as well. And what is needed on our end, because a lot of these fundings are reimbursements and not necessarily just cash in hand to like do what you need to do. It's like you have to have some sort of income or ability to pull a loan to be able to accomplish what the grant is asking you to do as well. No, I haven't found that vendors be as helpful. I would love there to be more vendors that could be helpful in connecting us to like insurance companies that maybe several of their growers work with, or understanding some of the food safety compliances by working with some of the farmers that already are getting certified by a third party, and really kind of sharing that information. So I think it does lack. I think there's room for vendors to be a source of information as they are working with several growers, and all of the growers that are essentially selling to them have to have some sort of compliance or ability to get there. And so I'd love for there to be more ability for that to happen, but I don't think it's happened to us yet. I'm sure it's happened with several other growers potentially, but not for us. I mean, if you're in the state of California, always referring to starting with your like community-based organizations, your nonprofits who have been doing this work for some time. That could be from Community Alliance for Family Farmers, which is CAF, to your conservation districts in your region, and then leading up to your like USDA sort of like field office, right? And so to cover your bases goes from, or even your extensionists. Sometimes your extensionists, even though can be very direct in terms of like education and research around soil and stuff of that sort, it can be hard to get direct like information around like how to get your business up and going. But that's where sort of like community-based organizations might be of a better sort of like niche for that information. And like each of these sort of like components, whether it be a nonprofit or a state agency or a federal agency, all of them, there's a lot of cross through in many ways, and a lot of the folks within those sort of like agencies and nonprofits are a lot of the times are collaborating or talking to one another around what are they hearing from several of their producers. And so those can be ways in which you can tap in, ask, see like where that information that you're looking for could be useful for what you're looking to get support on. So always be prepared to ask questions. Never hesitate to ask something that might sound stupid, but it's actually a great question for like where you're at in terms of your business. No dumb question is dumb. It's a great question for like what you're trying to accomplish. And so that is the one sort of suggestion I can ask and say to folks starting their journey and getting their farm up and going. I would say that building relationships with folks in several of these capacities is also a key factor, both through the community-based organizations, making sure that you're following up with them on a quarterly basis is something to just keep in mind, to just hear things as they're coming out, and to keep you in mind around opportunities that may be applicable to what you're looking for. So I think that's a really important aspect of, don't see the agencies and the nonprofits as just like technical assistance providers, but as like people who are of support in your success and the work that you're doing. And a lot of times you'd be surprised there are folks that maybe want to even be like friends of yours or want to be a part of what you're already doing in the mission that your farm is trying to accomplish. So sometimes they're some of the biggest advocates of like your work and how we'd love to see more of these small scale producers continue to do that work over the next generation. So I always think that that's a really important aspect to keep in mind.